I don't recall any other vehicles being added to Gran Turismo, at least in recent memory, which have been as dividing as this one. It's a vehicle which on its own merit is a perfectly acceptable all the way up to fantastic car, depending on who you ask. It is great to drive, it looks good, sounds good, it's got some very cool visual upgrades, not least of which the body kit, so you can turn it into the Falcon race car, but the problem is, this car has a whole bunch of things working against it, and I've seen very few other vehicles which have people so vehemently defending it, but also those like myself who wish that a different vehicle altogether had been added to the game. And certain people have been saying, well, you know, it's super rare, so it justifies the price, it's a special version, you wouldn't be complaining if this version of that car were added to the game, blah blah blah. The reality is this car just is not a good addition to the game. And the reason why is because it's the wrong game for it to be in, the price makes no sense, the vehicle itself is good, but it also doesn't factor in that you can tune a normal R34 anyway and make it at least as good as this, if not better, and the real cherry on the cake, which no one is really talking about in YouTube comments at least, is you cannot even use this car in road events. Some people might not have realised that because even though they're defending it, apparently they haven't even bothered to try and use it yet, because otherwise they would know that. You can't use this car in road-going events. It's an aftermarket professionally tuned vehicle, so there are a literal handful of races in the entirety of career mode where you can even use this car, and that, for a 3 million credit R34 Skyline, is utterly insane. And in conjunction with that choice of body kit, which when you recontextualise it given that fact, is almost mockingly so, because if they'd have added the Falcon race car instead of this imitation of the Falcon with said body kit, you could use that car ironically more than this one. Even if you had charged 3 million for it, you would actually be able to do more with the Falcon racing version. The second problem is the price makes no damn sense, because people who are saying, well, it's a super rare version of a JDM car, so actually it does make sense. No, it doesn't, because this is a brand dealership car, not a legendary dealership car, which means that time has not appreciated its cost. It's being listed as a quote-unquote brand new car in the dealer, which means it should have the price that it had when new, or at least equivalent to said price. So no, 3 million credits does not make sense in any universe including Gran Turismo. This should not be a 3 million credit car. If it were a Legends car in the Hagerty dealership, then yes, it should be 3 million credits. It ain't, so it ain't. Moving on to its performance, yes, it's good. You can quite easily though get 500 horsepower out of an R34, and for those who are crying about, well, bonnet vents don't look as good as this actual vent on the bonnet. No, it doesn't, but we work with what we've got, and replicas are more than close enough to push something like this to the back burner, have it as a day one car in the next game, because let's be honest, they could have quite easily had this car as a day one vehicle in GT7, because we already had the R34 as a day one vehicle in GT7, and it's the same 3D model underneath, so yes, they could have easily added that, if not visual pack, as a separate vehicle if they wanted to, but more importantly, you could have added something which the community was, oh, I don't know, actually asking for a change, like a race car, or a returning legend, or something entirely new, like a Cadillac V-Series hypercar, for example, or any other list of far more useful machines, which might have also cost 3 million credits, but at least you'd be able to actually use them in career mode events. There'd be something new. They wouldn't feel like a slap-in-the-face vehicle from the Gran Turismo 6 era, which this car would have fit right in with, but again, now it simply doesn't. This is, in an ironic sense, about as useful as the Qashqai, except it costs about 1,000 times more than a Qashqai. So yes, I find this car incredibly insulting, utterly stupid to add to the game at all, and that's a shame, because under normal circumstances I would not be berating the car. It's not fair to the car, because it is a fantastic car, much like the R33 LM road car, for example, which is about just as useless as this if you really want to look at it on paper, overpriced for a 300 horsepower Skyline, so more than a little bit of similarity there. They both have cool body kits and they're even both silver, but I would have chosen that car over this one because at least then you could actually use it in more events and it would feel like a more justified legendary kind of price tag. Yes, there may only be 19 of these in the world. I don't really care. There are only 17 of my Daihatsus on the road anymore. You don't hear me complaining that it ain't in Gran Turismo and doesn't cost 3 million credits. So yes, it's a fantastic car. In GT6 it would have been a cool car to talk about, and I would have talked about it alongside the Opera S2000s, the Mugen Civics, the Spoon Integras, and everything else. But it ain't in GT6, it's in GT7, and much like GT Sport, this is the esports era, making a vehicle that you can't even use in said races something of an irrelevant vehicle. Of course, there are certain people who don't agree, and they're entitled to their opinion. The fact is, you can't use the car much. This car is 10 times more expensive than it should be if you're actually going to put it in a quote-unquote brand new dealership section. The performance is good, but it is nothing you cannot do with a normal R34. The visuals are cool, but again, aside from the interior stuff, which is purely based on Polyphony not bothering with interior modification, stuff which you can mostly do with visual upgrades and a decent body kit, and even if you want to argue that the body kit isn't realistic enough, they could have easily, just like the Falcon body kit, added this as a body kit for the normal R34. So, that's it for my thoughts on the NISMO Z-Tune. What about yours?